In today's video, I'll be discussing mental health with Angus. So first off, I'd like to ask you whether you think mental health is a taboo in today's society.
A taboo? Ooh, that's an interesting one. To be perfectly honest, I don't think so. I think in the past it was considered more of a nuisance and not really a real issue. It was a bit like being uncertain regarding your gender, but wasn't considered as a proper issue in any way. And there wasn't much awareness about it. But nowadays, I think that there's a lot more people who are willing to share their experiences and actually discuss what they've been going through with regards to mental health. And people are taking it much more seriously now than they did back in the day. Now, if somebody does mention mental health, then the conversations do tend to become a bit more considerate and fragile, one might say. But I wouldn't call it a taboo, so to speak. Yes, people might treat others differently, but regardless of the fact, it's not prohibited or viewed with mistrust, so to speak.
Oh, okay. So you think like in the past it was more of a, not really a taboo, but it was like not really discussed about as much?
Yes.
And now people are becoming more open about it, and okay. Yeah, I think I agree with that. Do you think that mental health issues are a first world problem?
I don't think so, no. I mean, as mentioned before, they're a lot more talked about in the first world. And people, as said before, are coming out about it and are discussing their experiences. But in the third world, so to speak, I get the impression that it's present there as well. It's just not nearly as well discussed, considering how people have many different issues. For example, in many countries, people don't even have access to water, and mental health might not be on the top of priorities. So yes, I believe that it exists in the third world, and it's not just a first world problem. It's just that in the first world, it's made much more aware.
Yeah, and I think people have like more time to spend on treating it and discussing it, and whereas in third world countries, like you
they
said,
might accept it as part of everyday life, so to speak.
But they have other things they need to prioritize.
Yeah.
Do you think that schools should pay more attention to mental health issues, like bring more awareness to?
From what I've seen, there is already some awareness in that you have counselors, and you do occasionally have classes wherein you will talk about mental health and what to do if you are experiencing depression or anxiety, something along those lines. But I do think that it would be nice to have a dedicated class every so often, maybe even every week, just in which to discuss your personal experiences and how you're coping.
Because I think if you like share how you're feeling with other people will be able to like relate and feel less alone, and that can also
I believe
help
so.
them.
Because I think that some people are still somewhat afraid of opening up for fear of being bullied, or for that matter, they are being bullied and they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I think discussing it with like other people in your class, it makes it less scary than like going to see a
definitely
therapist or something.
Then again, perhaps not, because I mean, peer pressure and such, and they might they know you better, and therefore if you open up to them, a few people might be mocking, and they might well treat you different, so you might not want to go into detail regarding what experiences you've gone through.
Yeah, I guess it depends a bit on like who you are and what you prefer personally. So you think that schools already have it's already better than it used to be again, but there's still room for improvement?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, yeah, me too. Do you think that the amount of people suffering from mental health issues has increased over the past years?
It's a possibility, as mentioned before. It's also a possibility that it's the same level, it's just that more people are discussing it nowadays. But on the other hand, I think that with more people experiencing things such as social media and more interconnectivity, on the one hand, that can really help you connect with other people and help you appreciate them. But then on the other hand, it can
have the opposite.
You can see all of these people, and you can see, I don't know, whether they have happy lifestyles and their successes and such, and you might feel really down about yourself. and you will almost inevitably start comparing yourself to
Yeah.
other people. I know I do it personally,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like that I do it, but I still do it.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But regardless of the fact, if you're constantly scrolling on social media and seeing all of the best pictures that these people have put up, I mean, they're not going to put up their worst pictures,
Yeah, no,
but
yeah.
then you're likely going to feel really insecure about yourself, and I don't know, it can most certainly lead to mental health issues, and
Yeah.
especially with cyberbullying, although that's been around
Yeah.
for a while now, and stuff like that. So I think that it has gradually increased over the years, what with more people connecting via technology and less people connecting via personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because over like technology, like social media and stuff, people can also just say whatever they want without facing like consequences.
Most certainly.
Whereas if you're like discussing in person, then it's very different, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the reason it's also increased over the past few years is also the fact, like what you said, that people are becoming more open about it, and it's more discussed, and it's less of a like, I don't know, it used to be seen as like, I guess for some it still is, but like seen as like a bad thing, whereas now people are more like
Accepting of it.
Yeah.
It is a health issue, and it should be treated as such. It's not just an inconvenience that one is born with or that one can get rid of very easily.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of a silly question, but because I think we already know the answer. But it was whether you think depression is a dysfunctional way of thinking.
Is it a dysfunctional way of thinking?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I've never experienced depression myself, so I can't give a very accurate claim of that. But from what I can tell, and again, this isn't very accurate, but I think depression is the lack of will to do things, to actually get up and experience life to its fullest, because you think that it is worthless and it's not worth your time, regardless of whether it is or not. I don't think it's a dysfunctional way of thinking. If we're taking dysfunctional to mean crazy or disjointed or non-logical.
Do you think it's something like biological? Like,
do I think it's something biological? Oh, that's an okay.
Or do you think that people kind of like kind of start thinking in a certain way, and then they kind of get like, in a way, maybe addicted to that?
Possibly, because I think it could be like a combination of the two, perhaps, because on the one hand you do have genetics and you do have hereditary diseases that can be passed down, but I'm not sure whether depression would be counted amongst that. If you take two twins, separate them from birth, and put them into completely different living conditions, then they're most likely going to grow up to be very different people. Then again, that may not well be true. I mean, there was a story about two twins who got separated, but then grew up to be almost identical in both psyche and physical aspects. But I mean, I think it's less so your physical aspects and more so the situation surrounding
your
you.
environment.
Yeah, exactly, your environment, and that's what affects you, and that's what shapes your psyche. And it's that ultimately that leads to depression or anxiety, or on the other side of the spectrum, happiness and understanding and comprehension.
I think it's also interesting how some people who to us like seem like they have it all, like they're successful, I don't know, have money, live in like a really cool place or whatever, that they can also be like depressed. And
that's
I
quite
used to really not understand, but I think when you have everything, you don't really have anything to work towards anymore, and then you kind of just lose, like, you don't know where you're going with life anymore.
Definitely. And maybe also the fact that you have to cling on to what you already possess in a way. And that can, I don't know much about fame, but I'd imagine that it's very stressful at times.
Yeah.
And whilst it may be enjoyable, when sticking up there, you really need to hold on. And that might just drain all the willpower out of you.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas of, like, how you think it'll go in the future, mental health? Do you think it'll get worse or better? Or?
That's interesting. Well, judging by its appearance, the future seems to be very technology oriented in that we are growing more and more attached to our technological devices. So, for example, phones, iPads, computers, and the vast majority of us have at least one of these things in our possession at all times,
Yeah.
at least amongst our age group
Yeah.
and above and below our age group. Now, if you look at the effect that technology has had upon mental health, one can probably assume that it's a relatively negative effect upon our health in that we're constantly comparing ourselves to others,
Yeah.
and it opens up the possibility for cyberbullying and such. However, you also have the plus side in
Yeah,
that
there's two sides.
you have more access to help, and you can make
Share
yourself.
and-
Yes, exactly. In the future, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think that the level of mental health issues is going to rise, especially if one imagines that we now have access to more utilities than ever before, so that we don't have to work all that strenuously in order to achieve what we want to achieve. So that leaves a lot of free time to do a lot of reflection and such, and think about yourself and your thoughts and such. But I also think that the trend of more people becoming aware of mental health issues is also going to increase, and that people are going to be more liable to open up about it.
Yeah.
So I think that they're both going to increase, and I'm not sure how that will that will result in, and which one will increase faster. One would hope that at some point in the future, near future, hopefully, mental health issues will be a thing of the past, and that people will know how to deal with it.
And treat it.
Well, no, not deal with it, but to cope with it, so to speak. If it is biological in nature, then that may well be an inevitability. That we will always have mental health issues, but if so, that's okay as long as we know how to provide those people with help.
Yeah.
And I think that in the end, I mean, we could inevitably, or hopefully, help all of the people with mental health issues, but then again, on the other hand, we really don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, because I also think the awareness will increase, but also the things that are kind of causing it nowadays will also increase in use. So in some countries they allow euthanasia for patients, like for people that have been suffering with depression for a really long time, or like people that are just sure about wanting to end their life. What do you think about that?
It's a difficult subject, most certainly. And that, do you allow these people to take their own lives, peacefully though it may be, because they are unhappy? I think that if they've actively tried to find help for themselves, and they have been willingly attempting to increase their mental health in multiple ways, but they still feel that they are incredibly sad or depressed or anxious, something along those lines, then I think that yes, they should be given the opportunity to end their life, because if they have nothing left to live for, then it's almost a punishment.
Yeah, if it's just like pain and suffering for them.
And also, who are we to make their decisions? We can most certainly try and influence their decisions, but it would be unethical to make it for
their
them.
life after all.
All humans have the right to free will, and therefore we should at least give them the opportunity to end their suffering, so to speak. The same with those of a very elderly age who don't have much else to live for.
Yeah. When it comes to euthanasia and depression, some people argue that you don't know, it could be gone in the next day.
Yes,
for some people.
I see their point, but I mean, if those with depression or mental health issues have really tried and to find help for themselves and still have not experienced change and still feel the same pain as they did months or years ago, then perhaps there is no way of them actively finding a solution.
Or maybe one day they would have a good day and not go through the pain and suffering anymore.
It's
but
a
then
possibility, but
the
is it
question-
worth
yeah.
all of those days of pain
Waiting,
and suffering?
like,
Yeah, and you
they may
don't
be
know
waiting
whether you will achieve
forever,
that or
yeah.
not.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So, I am by no way suggesting suicide.
No.
Suicide,
Yeah, that's a whole different.
yeah, that's not.
Yeah, that's also why I think, I don't know, because like people that are suffering with depression and stuff, and then they go like, and then they commit suicide. I feel like there should also be a way for them to be able to like leave peacefully, I guess.
Yes, because if you commit suicide, then not only are you cutting yourself off from life,
But you're doing it in a
yeah, you're also
horrible.
You're also injuring your family, friends, mentally damaging them.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be absolutely shocked, and they are
Mhm.
almost inevitably going to blame themselves
Mhm.
and say that they could have done something
Yeah.
to prevent it from happening. So, I mean, with euthanasia, at least you have a way of preparing them for the possibility
Yeah.
that you will want to let go of life and
Yeah.
that you will die.
And that they can say bye and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that way you can talk to your friends and family and tell them your experiences and see if they can help you in some way.
Mhm. Yeah. So you think euthanasia should be an option for
Yes,
people?
I believe
Yeah.
so. If
Yeah, I think so.
I
too.
mean, we would have to set some regulations regarding
how
how
long
active you
and-
will, how long, how
Have
much
you-
help you have sought.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think that in combination with more aid for those
Yeah.
with mental health issues, possibly from the government or something
Mhm.
along those lines, would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for today then. Thank you so much for joining me,
Pleasure.
and yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed discussing.
Yeah, likewise.